Hello my friends, Dr. X here. I am pleased to bring you more KSP2. And what we are going to do today is we're going to add on to this little space station. A few days ago, I played for just a few minutes and I built this mini space station. I tried to build a bigger space station, but for some unknown reason, the Kraken would not allow me to make that ship take off at all. And so what I realized about this space station is that there's no communications package on this space station. And poor Valentina Kerman is not a scientist. She's a pilot. So she kind of wants to continue exploring. And so we're going to build a ship that could potentially go onward to the moon or Minmus. And we are going to let Valentina join us on a later mission. But today's mission is to bring up a nice little communications package for this space station. So let's go look at the rocket I constructed for this. This lower section is our main drive to get us into space, and then here's our potential lander. I'm hopefully not going to use the lander's energy, and then there's our communication package at the top. So let's go through the countdown system, and I'm going to do this from 2 different chutes, because obviously I wasn't able to do this on one run. You know, it's Kerbal Space Program. Here we go. One thing that I think would be really cool is if when you do zoom out that far, I think it would be really cool if the sound of devs would actually make it so there's a delay in sound. Kind of like the real rocket launches where you see the smoke, you see the light, and then the rocket sound hits you. And I think that would be really cool. But yeah, the Kraken did not like me even launching this big of a vehicle. There was a lot of times where I flipped over, and so I had to add more aerodynamic wings on the bottoms. And I had a lot of troubles trying to get the siphon systems where one pair of rockets feeds the next pair of rockets where it feeds the main rocket. I could not get that to fully function. I did get it to partially function, which is what this launch is. But I had to make a lot of adjustments to the main engine and little tweaks here and there just to get things rolling right. And so, yeah, there's a Kraken that's causing issues with the fuel transfer system and those little fuel pipes. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's hard to tell because we don't have a lot of data when we look at like a fuel cell. It doesn't tell us what's inside it except for what we have in the lower right hand corner. But that's not a horrible deal. It's not a game breaker. But speaking of game breaking situations, I've been really surprised as to what on earth people are saying about KSP2. There's a shocking amount of negative information going on about KSP2. And to a small degree, I'm kind of confused as to why. You have a literal game designed off of you making mistakes and launching and having things mess up. Then you learn from it, you make adjustments, you make updates to your rocket, and you do better the next time. I think KSP2 launched probably in the best way that the devs could have done it. If they're trying to teach us about a game where you learn from your mistakes, you make mistakes, and you try something and something doesn't work, then they did a perfect job. Because, first of all, everything in the game so far is beautiful. Like, the game design is awesome. I like the view of the planets. I like the view of space. I like how everything flows so far. Admittedly, there's some clunkiness to the UI, but that doesn't mean it's a bad mess up. The game just launched, and they even told us it's early access. It doesn't mean it's a dumpster fire. So, Kraken or no, I'm not complaining. This game is awesome. And admittedly, I'm grateful that the Kraken allowed this video to actually happen because there was a lot of times I had mistakes and stuff. And so this is not the first run of trying to do this rendezvous. This is 10 or 20. Moving on. So making mistakes is what Kerbal Space Program is all about. You set up your staging wrong. You do something that invariably you make it half an hour out into your flight, and you may realize you made a mistake all the way back at the drawing board. And so you have to restart your flight. And it's what made Kerbal Space Program so awesome. So the reason why we have a lot of kind of whiny results is very confusing to me, because isn't that what this game is about? I mean, sure, it's not fully polished, it's not totally perfect on the first day, but, you know, neither was Pirates of the Caribbean. It just, things work out differently. And if we take into the effect that this is a game where you learn from the mistakes and you learn progressively how to get further into space, then even the devs kind of deserve a little bit of an alibi for trying to build a nearly impossible physics game that didn't really... I mean, they rebuilt it from the ground up. It's a whole new UI. It's a whole new game. I mean, they took data from their original game and they applied it to this game, but the everything's new. They took a lot of time and effort to build this, and they wanted to show it off and let us participate from this point forward. And some people are like, oh, it's not perfectly polished. Wow. I mean, come on. I'm perfectly happy with the game. I think it's a beautiful game. And I discovered that maybe one of my near future videos will be how to install mods, because apparently mods are back again. That wasn't very long. It turns out it was like only, what, 2-3 weeks? And there's already information out on how to successfully load mods. And it actually turns out, it sounds like it's easier to run mods in this second game than the first one. But, you know, we'll find out over time as we get more of the game completed and we get more of the game expanded. And I cannot explain how totally legit and awesome I think it is that we are going to be going interstellar, and I'm super excited about it. So admittedly, most of the time over the last 5 or so years, I've been using McJeb to try to figure out and rendezvous. So this is definitely a stretch of my imagination to figure out rendezvous, and especially, like, I tried to figure out the proper angle to launch and everything, but I didn't do terribly great at it. But, you know, here we are, and we get some very beautiful views from this low Kerbal orbit, or I guess this is like a medium, or just Kerbal orbit, and I am just outstandingly appreciative of this game. We, even more specifically, with all the problems that could arise in this early of the game, yeah, there's definitely some room for growth, but I was able to get this far in a playthrough and not have the fabled Kraken take over and destroy my game. Yeah, I'm appreciative of that. I think it's good. So here we are, and I also discovered if you do right-click when you select the, like, information, you can get it to stick around for a little bit longer. It's not quite as long sticking as Kerbal Space Program 1, but, you know, at least it sticks around so that you can read the information and make some minor adjustments. So that's cool. Like, see right there. I mean, my mouse isn't hovering over it anymore. I got the data up, and I can make little tweaks here and there. And right now you can see that I'm actually using my main engine to try to get things closer. And it took me a moment to realize that part of my problem was my angle of inclination. I am 1.6-ish degrees off, which made it so that I was still over 25,000 meters away from my target. Once I put that together and I started kind of poking around at trying to get my inclination to match, I was able to get way closer, and it made the rest of the rendezvous actually work out. I got this area down to 4,000 meters for our next rendezvous, and yeah, from there I was able to fine-tune it. Look, we're already kind of bouncing around at potentially going further away, but it was just little tweaks here and there, just pointing at my target, pointing away from the target, pointing at the retrograde, prograde, and stuff. I also discovered if you click over on the orbit side, you can toggle from ground, orbit, and to target, which having target actually makes it easier to organize your positioning relative to your target, right? I mean, it makes sense. So, oh wow, look at the beautiful sun. I don't know if this is overkill to have the sun do that. I haven't personally experienced space, so I don't know what the sun kind of would look like in space, but this is fun. Like, you can see me trying to kill my relative speed right now and poking around at the different nodes that we have. I'm getting used to using this node thing on the bottom as well as the node circle. It's confusing sometimes for me to use, but yeah, zeroing in on a target in space is technically astronomical. We have so much space around us that in order to relatively figure out where you are and position yourself in relation to a target, it's kind of difficult. And so Kerbal Space Program does a good job at emphasizing this difficulty by, it doesn't make it easy for us, which is good. I mean, but little technical things like I keep trying to turn around while my RCS is on, and I'm wasting RCS fuel when I really don't need to. And RCS, if you notice, my RCS is not exactly balanced because I shouldn't have this main engine stage anymore. But I have enough fuel that I'm like, you know what? If I keep it, I might be able to successfully go to Minmus and back, for example. So we'll find out what I do. I haven't quite decided on what I'm going to do with this module. I might make another rocket to refuel and be just a bigger power source for this lander, and we'll trade out this base with something else. That could be cool. And looking forward at what the devs have planned, I am super excited for what I think one of the lead devs was saying, that they are planning on doing colonies and stuff where you would be able to start building rockets on different planets and launching from there your various launches and everything else. That is epic levels of awesomeness. There are some things that I'm kind of seeing now that I think would be fun if they changed. Like, for example, when a solar panel does get fully engulfed, that little sign that pops up, yeah, it goes away really quickly, but it is distracting when you're trying to do something as finite as docking, which we are getting really close. We're, what, 200 meters away? So let's do a quick little cut and we'll get a little bit closer, and I'll tell you one of my newest problems here. This was my key moment. I was super excited about almost docking, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm off position. My docking port is actually north by 13 meters. What's wrong? Yeah, something in my setup of pointing at my target here, I had pointed at the very bottom, and there we go. There's no docking port there. So obviously that docking maneuver did not work. And the funny thing was, I did take the time to toggle to the space station, set up its SAS so that it was pointing at me. It made things a lot easier. It's a lot easier if you have both of them trying to talk to each other and pointing at each other. But even in this early stage, like, there's still some funny things that are like, the game just doesn't quite play the way KSP1 used to play. So I don't know, it's funny. Let's cut to just before docking, and you'll see one of the things I'm talking about. If you notice the space station is trying to follow something on my rocket right now, and it is twisting. And it's like, no, don't do that. So I turned off its lock on my target, and voila, finally, even though we started out at like a 30-degree angle and suddenly we're docked. Hey, we're docked. Oh, wow. I will tell you this. This took easily over an hour to perform all of this. So keep in mind, not easier. KSP is doing a good job at keeping the challenge there. I very much appreciate the fact that this was not an easy peasy thing. And I even saw on this communication package right here, I could have put some docking ports on the sides of it. I don't know why I didn't. But, you live and you learn. Maybe the next package I bring up will address that. I might knock off one of these solar panels and expand out the space station to the left or the right. I'm excited for what I have the options to do. And I'm glad that I didn't build one whole station right away. Now, as for the mods, I have heard that there is, like, right now, there's no way to technically cheat or easily I don't even know how you would get into the UI that would allow you to like set your orbit or anything like that. But I am curious about some of the mods. One of the mods will unlock kind of like the older looking UI from KSP1, and the designer for that actually did make it look a lot like the KSP1 UI. That's why I'm saying from the older. But that will allow you to do some tests, like where you build a full space station. You don't even build a rocket to launch it. You just set it out on the runway and you set the orbit and it's in orbit. That'll be nice for running tests and building some decently large things and testing if just the sheer size of KSP. Now, from what I understand, the devs kind of focused in on 150 parts as their base logic for most designs. And so they're theoretically, we're going to have a period of growth where we're going to have troubles at objects bigger than 150 parts. But, you know, KSP is in development. It's early access. I think it's still a good game. And man, is it beautiful. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Have a good day. Bye.